I met my first husband when he was 20 years old and I was 22. Not long after we got together, just a few years, I started having problems, medical problems. I had multiple doctors tell me different things. So I had the first doctor tell me, Tonya, you need to consider adoption. Straight off the get, you need to consider adoption. I had one doctor say, well, I've seen miracles happen. That's not what you want to hear. At that point, after 2 surgeries and just a lot of pain, different medications and that type of thing, I gave up on the idea of it. I sat my husband down and I said, I release you. I can't have a family. So you go and have one. And he said, no. I think I felt more for him than honestly I did for me, because this was my medical problem that I had to deal with, and he didn't ask for that. But he was happy. We had dogs. We loved them a lot. 2007, I had the coolest job ever. I loved it so much. And I loved the people that I worked with. And I had been with this one company almost straight out of college. So I had been there for a long time. Very successful and very, very happy. And our company got bought. And I knew from the very beginning my department was going to be the first to go. So in November of 2007, I was laid off along with a vast majority of the people that I worked with. And I saw a lot of my friends lose their jobs too. It was very, very sad. But I started interviewing, and I had 2 face-to-face interviews by that point, but it was the end of the year and people weren't hiring, and so I was just trying to get through. I was already in a depressed state, let's be honest. My job was my identity. I didn't have children. I poured all of my energy into this job. So I was struggling right from the beginning. But it was about Christmas time when, unbeknownst to us, Chris had a heart attack. He was 31, and when you're 31, you can walk around after you've had a heart attack. This I learned. So we made it through Christmas. On December the 30th of 2007, he died in the cath lab. Here's the point. The doctor comes in and he says, I'm sorry to tell you. I already knew what he was going to say. The nurses already told me he had a widowmaker. That made me the widow, right? I took about 3 steps before I hit the floor. Knees down, face on the floor. And I started screaming. I had no relationship with God, not 1 ounce of one. I could tell you I did. I did believe. I just chose not to. But in that moment, on that floor, my husband was dead. I'm telling you, God spoke to me right then, right there. And he said, this is all a part of the plan. It felt like literally somebody had an arm around me as I was laying there. They let me go see him. They let me kiss him goodbye. He was still warm when I told him goodbye. My ability to survive this without losing my own mind didn't come from my strength or my will at all. It came from holding on to this belief, knowing that God is for real and he absolutely has a plan for me. And that is a moment that changed my life because everything goes back to that point, that moment. Things started turning around really good. I got this phone call from one of the places that I interviewed with, and they offered me a job, and they offered me a job better than the job I applied for. And I almost fell backwards into my bathtub. And I sat my phone down on the tub, and before I could even pick it back up again, I got another phone call from the second place that I had interviewed. And they offered me a job better than the job I had applied for. It was amazing. It was my chance to get back out into the real world and to take care of myself. And so I chose one of those positions, and I gathered myself up and I started to go back to work. So the very first day I was going to start my new job, my boss was late, and I had no way to get in the building. So she called one of my coworkers to come let me in. Fast forward, it's my current husband. Having had so many medical issues reproductively, I would take medication that is also used for birth control on and off throughout the years, just for symptom control, more than anything in my mind. And I would lapse for long periods of time. And so I actually lapsed and thought nothing of it. 2 weeks later, I was pregnant. And I looked back and I thought, that was it. That was the plan. That was the reason. And now I know that wasn't the end of the plan. Not at all. So I say, I am sort of like this cardboard box, heavy, on the floor that you can't pick up and you have to kick. And I feel like God kicked me, and He kept kicking me, and He kept kicking me, and I was resistant. But one thing after the other, first marrying a man that had a lifelong relationship with God, and then having this miraculous baby that I never dreamed I would have, I thought, I'm gonna take my little boy to church. It was never about him. It was about me. It was about me and my relationship with God. And I think God was kicking me across that floor, saying, go get saved. Go change your life. And I did. And that, I think, was the plan.